Hi, welcome to That's So Nova. Is this your first time here? Welcome if you're a returning subscriber. Thank you for coming back. Today we're going to be making the Cassiopeia East West Bag. This is the third in the series that came out in this collection. This bag is a mid-size bag that can have two different handle lengths. There's a long and a short. It has two zipper pockets and two slip pockets. So what you need to do is get this pattern, which if you don't already have, there's affiliate link in the description box and a link that you could purchase a pattern in the pinned comments, and grab some snacks, grab something to drink, and let's get sewing. Hi, welcome to That's So Nova. Today we're going to be making the Cassiopeia East West pattern. This bag has a nice classic bowler bag shape with a little bit of a twist. It's a middle-sized backpack with two zipper pockets and two slip pockets, and you have an optional length of what you want your straps to do. We're going to do I'm not doing the shorter straps, I'm doing on the ones on the longer so you can kind of put it on your shoulder. I love anything that I could put on my shoulder and get ready to go. Okay, so there's a lot of prep work in this bag, and we're going to start with making our straps. So let's go over to page figure 8 with your strap, and you're going to be doing some measurements. I'm sorry, we're going to go over to the previous page with the measurements. You want to go over to figure 7. There are going to be some measurements. We're going to draw 3/4 of an inch boxes, and we're going to have diagonal lines that go in towards the strap. By doing this, we're reducing some bulk. So we're just going to go ahead and snip at those angles. I love how Oro Rosa Alexis always thinks of how we can reduce bulk. It always makes our life a little bit easier when we have less bulk in our straps and in our binding. It makes the bag poke out and not have that sunken in shape. All right, so now we're going to want to strip a double-sided tape, as you see I have right here, and we're going to fold each side. We're going to leave a little bit of a gap because this is going to fold on itself, about 1/8 of an inch. I'm using Wawak double-sided tape. And when you're pressing this down, make sure you're not pressing it in an opposite direction, just having it go away from you. Sometimes you can get twisted handles or straps because you're manipulating the fabric a little too much. Let's go on this side. So what we're going to do next is when we fold this on half onto itself, we're going to sew down 1/4 of an inch on both sides to secure the straps, and it's the classic Oro Rosa handle. I do know that I use her classic Oro Rosa handle on many of my bags. I just like the attention of detail, and it just gives like characteristic to a handle instead of just having 1/8 of an inch on both sides. So let's go 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to back stitch well at the beginning and at the end. You can clip or do whatever you need to do to ensure that your straps are even. For me, it's a little bit easier just to hold and fold. I'm sounding like a Dr. Seuss poem. Okay, my name is Nova, and I got to rap like Dr. Seuss. Actually, I think that would be pretty cool. I'm not going to lie to you. So we're just going to continue to sew. And when I get to the end, I'm just going to pivot and go over like 2 stitches for me. It depends on what your stitch length is. It varies, but 2 stitches because I'm at a slightly 4 stitch length. Size 4 stitch length on this industrial is my sweet spot. But when I'm out on my industrial, that's kind of like like what you would think of Janome HD or any kind of semi-industrial Juki. It's like a 3.5 or 3 is my sweet spot on that. I just let it fly. If you have, a hard time keeping the straps straight, there's a lot of cool tools out there. There is a place I think called Ancient Relics on Etsy that they have like magnetic strips that can help you keep your straps from like deviating when you're sewing. But my thing is that I never look at the needle bar. I always look at the number that I'm doing. So on my machine I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 is 1/8 of an inch, 2 is 1/4, 3 is 3/8, 4 is 1/2, and 5 is 5/8 of an inch. So if I'm looking at the 2, I just look at the 2 the whole time and not actually look at my needle bar. Because when I look at my needle bar, it kind of like it has me like in a hypnotic haze where I'm not really paying attention. So if I focus on that 2, it's easier for me to get a nice stitch. So now we're gonna moseying on over and we're gonna draw some lines. So on both short ends, we're gonna draw 6 inches away from each short inch and short end and 5 inches. And yes, I leave all my mistakes and bloopers in because I am not perfect. And who wants to be? Let's see. And on the back, I'm just going to go ahead and just draw the 5-inch mark that we're going to put double-sided tape at in a later time. All right. So this is what we're about to do next is going to be the classic Oro Rosa handle. So make sure you don't just drop stuff like I do. Make sure you have long tails, and we're going to start in the middle of the handle. Now, this is the most key part, and when I first started doing Oro Rosa's classic handle, I did this, messed up this like not once, not twice, but thrice. You need to start where the folds are. If you start on this end, it will be all for naught, and you might as well just backstitch. So where the folds open, you kind of just want to start at an opening, and you're going to start at 1/8 of an inch. You're not going to backstitch. You want long tails because we're going to pull the stitches to the front. So we're just stitching along. And right when we get to that second, remember we have a 5-inch and a 6-inch. Right when we get to the 6-inch mark, we're going to stop on it. We're going to pivot, go across, and then we're going to pivot again, and we're going to go down 1/8 of an inch on the part that's folded over now. Knocked over a lot of clips. This is the only bad thing about working on an industrial table. Sometimes you just don't have enough room and you just destroy stuff in the process. But yeah, I digress. Let's keep going. We're going to go to the next 6-inch mark. And we're going to hop on over. And we're going to go down 1/8 of an inch. Now I'm going to stop right here and I'm going to show you something. Normally you would stop and pull the threads back all together. I found, this is my method, I found that if you do the first set, you're going to you want both of the threads, both loops, to come to center, right? You pull them in. So what I want to do is I want to stop in this hole to pull the next set of threads center. And it just seems a little bit easier. No matter if you're going to pull all 4 threads or just 2 at a time, you're going to want to pull it to the center, not to the back, not to the front, into the middle. So I think it's just a little bit easier to pull the threads earlier too, so you could just pull 2 and land exactly into the hole that you need to be in. That's just me. I did this method in a lot of other videos. This is the way I wanted to teach you in this particular video because it's less stressful to me to teach you. It's less stressful, I think, period, and it's less daunting. But it's the same way no matter what. We're going to go in down to it. We're going to stitch all the way down and try to get directly in this hole. Even if I have to hand crank the bad boy, I'm going to get it in this hole. All right. We're going to pull long tails. All right. And you see there's 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up. Move the ones. It might be a little, it's less confusing when you have all 4 coming in. You're going to pull the loop and both of them come in the center. You're going to now take these threads and you're going to make some tight knots. All right, you need some strong thread because you're going to make some tight knots. This particular thing, I like. I'm a fan and I'm not a fan of a thread zapper, but for this particular handle, I like the thread zapper because you can get in between the folds without singeing the actual vinyl. I'm gonna snip. And stick under. And then we have our strap. So we're going to go to the back where we drew the 5-inch mark, and we're going to put some double-sided tape. Sorry about that. I'm just using 1/4 of an inch. All right. Then we're going to grab we're going to need our main panel exterior. So, oh, I'm just dropping everything. Mine is going to be this like plaid-ish textile diamond-ish Deadpool. So we're going to be putting it on here. I personally like to have the folded edge on the outside and have the nice clean, so like the open folds on the outside and have the closed fold on the inside. Everyone has their own method. Do what you like. There's no wrong or right way of doing this. So this needs to be 5 inches apart from the center. So definitely start with making your centers. I think that is the key part of anything. And this helps also when we're doing like the final step for constructing the bag. Having your centers helps tremendously. So you would need to find the 2.5 inches from each center, and then I just use a white chalk pencil to draw the lines so I can follow. Now, you don't have to do that. It's just something I do to make sure that I can have a perfectly straight edge, and white chalk comes off relatively fast for me. I can just quite literally erase it. So I'm just going to do this. So there's that that chalk line that we drew at 5 inches. We're going to go 1/8 of an inch up, across, and down. And back stitch well at the beginning and the end just to lock it in. Because this is a bound bag, always lock in all your stitches because nothing's really getting trimmed away. So just make every stitch count. Trim those threads. My shoes are super squeaky today. I decided to wear Uggs, and my machine does not like the Uggs. Let's see. Just make sure your handle is not twisted in any way, because these are getting connected by it's getting sewn on. So if it's twisted, you would have to unpick your whole entire handle, and that would not be fun. Don't you just like the shape of this pattern? It's just so cute and very classic, like a classic with a little bit of a twist. One-eighth of an inch going up and then across. And I like the fact that you have like options for handle size, so that you can make like a date night or just like a shoulder bag that's for every day. There's options, and I love that. All right, so for your handmade tag, if you want to use one, or your logo, she does have where she thinks is best. And I used a sew-on one, and she thinks about 1 3/4 of an inch in the center. You can put it in your metal one. She shows how she does. She used the prongs on figure 24, and then she put tape on it, and then I just sewn mine on. But keep this in mind: if you think it will look better to the left or to the right, or in the front or the back of your bag, on the side of the gusset. I personally have this thing where I love putting my tags on the side of the gusset because it's like it adds to another feature of the bag. But for this video, I did do exactly where the designer said to, but I think it's a really cool feature to have it on the side of the gusset because it just gives the bag a little bit more dimension. So let's go over to the cutting table so we can put some rivets in real quick. So with this, we're going to mark our rivets, and what I do, because I have a hard time finding centers, I usually take my time, and I use, this is a measuring tool. This is a measuring tool from Leslie oh my god, I am drawing a blank on her, Jolie Lee's creation, and it has a really cool thing. It has where you can, the dashes have for a 1/2 inch, then there's a blue straight line for 3/4 inch, and then this whole thing is for 1 inch. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to measure up, and it just gives me the perfect placement. So that way I'm not like, oh, I'm guessing. I'm going to use my hole punch. And make sure you don't accidentally punch into your stitches because that would not be great. So I'm going to put in the stem of my rivets. And then we're going to set the rivets. I'll feel a push like twice, and then I know they're set. All right, now we're going to bring this back to the table. The sewing table, I mean. And this part, the exterior is all done. You will need to repeat this to your front piece. And we're going to put this aside for just a moment as I destroy my work. So I try to be professional, but I can't guarantee professionalism. Okay, so, all right, well, now we're going to be doing the zippered pocket. The zipper pocket comes together relatively pretty quickly, and I think you're going to like it. So you're going to need, you need your zipper backing. You're going to need your zipper front and your zipper lining, along with your zipper pull, your zipper, you need that, most definitely your actual zipper, and let's see, and your two side pieces. All right, so the first thing I do is I'm going to just lightly singe the ends of my zipper tape. And then I'm going to find my centers by just making a mark real quick. Okay. So on the zipper pocket there, it's 7.5 by 8. You want to measure the right side of this is a 7.5. Okay. So just triple check that you're on the 7.5, because I have done it the opposite way, and yeah, that's not cool. So once you figured out the 7.5 side, you're going to want to find your centers there too. The key with Alexis is always finding your centers, and then it's cakewalk because the rest just falls into place. Okay. All right, so we're going to base this on using 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, then we're going to get our zipper pocket backing. Please pay attention to if you have directional. She shows you in the instructions how you should have it. Mine is a toss print. I particularly go for toss prints because of how most patterns nowadays use different directions on how to make your pockets. It's just easier to do. It just makes more sense. Directional prints I usually use for linings that are just for linings itself, but not the actual zipper pockets, because you know the way designs are now that they're getting more creative, and I'm here for it. So we're going to put this right sides together. I'm just going to trim off some of this stabilizer that was just hanging out. we're going to put this together. And we're going to sew this at 3/8 of an inch. And again, when I'm sewing this, I'm back stitching, but when I'm looking at this, you can definitely clip it, but I'm holding both raw edges together, and I'm holding this top by placing my hand here and then holding like my thumb, my index, and my middle finger. I'm holding it down like an anchor on this side, and I'm looking only at the number 3. I'm not looking at the needle bar. I'm not looking at the zipper foot. I'm not looking at anything except the number 3. Remove all the tails. All right, so what we're going to do now, we're going to follow steps figure 36, 37, and 38. We're going to take this and see how this is like the 3/8 of the inch seam allowance. We have the zipper, lining zipper. We have the sandwich in between the zipper tape and the zipper backing. We're going to take this, and if you have your iron out, you can hit it with an iron. This is the twill, and this does not respond well to heat. I do not recommend you, I repeat, do not iron the twill from Emmeline bags. It will not only melt, but it leaves a really bad chemical smell in the room. It's not meant for irons. So, but we're going to flip the seam allowance onto it. So the seam allowance that's here, we're folding it over onto itself to make an edge. So let me show you again. It's that seam allowance here. We're going to fold it onto itself and just kind of flip it over, and it makes this beautiful ledge. So what we're going to do here is we're going to sew this at 1/8 of an inch on the top, and then 1/8 of an inch from the zipper panel. So if we're doing it 1/8 of an inch, you're going to just look at the one, or if you have zipper tape, just if it's easier for you to follow, just follow whatever it's easier for you to do to get that perfect top stitching that you desire. And if it's not perfect, use a matching thread. That is key. I am using this burgundy thread that I just found, and I think it's like 6 years old, and I'm like, where did this come from? So I was like, why not use it? Because it's like full. And now I'm going to do it on the bottom here. When I do it on the bottom part, it hits exactly 3/8 of an inch. So it makes my stitching look better because it's going to be more uniform, because I'm going to follow the crease. All right. So we're going to do something that all of you guys absolutely hate, and every time I do it, I can hear the collective sigh from you guys watching it. We're going to remove the zipper. It's like a cell phone wrapper. Yes. Okay, so we're going to find the centers. Sorry, I had to. We're going to find our centers, and we're going to baste this together at 1/8 of an inch. And we're only basting on the 7.5 inch piece. We're not basting on the zipper tape. We're not trying to just add unnecessary trauma to the zipper. All right, so we're going to now take the front pocket and orientate it to how you want it to look, because this is going to fit like this, and the zipper tape's going to go this way. So you want the going up, and then this is going to go down. So you want to orientate your fabrics where you're going to place it like this, right sides together, but when it's pressed out, it's going to be faced this way. So Right of an inch, and back stitch well at the beginning and the end. And if it's easier for you to see it on, from the zipper side, by all means, flip it. Do whatever it like makes the most sense in your head. Again, there's no right or wrong answer. Okay. We're going to top stitch that like we see in figure 45. So you can iron it, you can finger press it, whatever's easier for you. Wow, that's just a huge thread. Okay. So when I bring this over to my machine, when I want to start top stitching this at 1/8 of an inch, my zipper teeth should be right at the 3/8 of an inch mark. That's how I know that I pulled this taut enough to get the correct top stitching. Back stitch. And so all I'm focusing on is that my zipper teeth are hitting that 3/8 of an inch line. All right. So we're going to grab our zipper pull and we're going to have to put it on twice, because one is to close it and then one's to actually put the zipper pull on so it can be on permanently. So just push it through and put it on. So really what I like to do, this is Lauren's soda pop zipper for Lauren Mormino, and I actually love the zipper pull because I don't understand some of the plating themes, but gunmetal zippers to me go on easier than antique and some other ones. But what I do is I have both open slightly and I put one side in. Usually I go towards the left, I don't know why, and then I feed the right in. I make sure that I can see them evenly in between the little bar that's there, and then I just push and I can hear a click and then it's in. So with this, like this, you're going to lift up the back piece and you're going to kind of just move up the front piece, and then you're going to make some markings. We're going to mark 3/8 of an inch seam allowance on both sides. We're going to sew it. Now, the thing is that you do not want to sew up here. You're only trying to sew onto this lining piece. So we're going to back stitch well at the beginning and at the end. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing over here, 3/8 of an inch. Okay, so what we're going to do is where this is, I'm going to cut in and then not cut into my stitches. I'm going to trim this to 1/8 of an inch. Trim towards the stitches but not cutting in, and then trim to 1/8 of an inch for the seam allowance. Perfect. Now we're going to grab our sides so we can make sure we can match them up perfectly, and then we can stitch them in place. Okay, that looks good. I'm just going to baste this in place. And I'm just lining up the pieces to make sure they stay, so they don't move when I'm putting them together. Then I'm going to just check this side. And then I'm just going to baste that in place. And when I'm basting in place, I'm low-key putting a little back stitch over the zipper. All right. So these are your side panels. We're going to sew these on at 3/8 of an inch. This is also a great place to put a tag if you wish. Back stitch well at the beginning and the end. And because we did those zipper pockets, like that, all those special trimming, it helps reduce bulk here. We're going to trim just the exterior piece that we just sewn on, not the zipper pocket at all, to 1/8 of an inch. And we're going to top stitch on the little flap. Side panel. I was like, well, I keep saying flat, but side panel. Okay, let's do this on this side. And we're going to top stitch on the side lining piece 1/8 of an inch. See, you have your slip pocket, your zipper pocket, and so you repeat that for the other side. And then we would grab the piece. Trim down some of the bulk on just the side without cutting into the stitches, just like a small little snip, so that way we're just reducing bulk. So we're going to put the pieces together. And what I like to do is I just grab a few clips and I just match them as best as I possibly can. Don't stretch anything so nothing gets wonky. And then we're going to baste them together about at 1/8 of an inch. And I do it from the front because the handle, I just don't want the handle to get in the way. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to go around and just trim any excess lining that's hanging out. It's not going to be a lot. You just don't want it to hang over into your seam allowance. All right. Let me get that. And at this point, you would just duplicate the other side. So you will have a front and a back. You will have something that just dropped. You'll have your both zipper pockets. And you can have your zipper pockets go to the left or the right, however you wish. And then now we're going to start putting together our gusset. Okay, so we're moving on to the gusset part. So we're trimming the zipper panel pack 4. Okay, so with this, we're putting it on the zipper feet. As you can clearly see, I have zipper feet. I wanted to try these new feet out. I am drawing a blank of where I got them. But with this Deadpool bag, I was like, let me try something that is not so classy as the metal feet, but something plastic. But I'm going to walk you through what you have to do. You need to find your center. So when you do, I did small little snips to indicate it. I drew a center line dividing down the middle to make sure that I have the accurate, middle, like you see on figure 65. Then from there, I drew 4 inches away from each side. As you can see, down the center of each one. See how complicated this was? I had to actually make some kind of a template because this didn't have washers, so I had to make Deco light washers, and it was all kinds of weird. Then, as you do, you're going to then measure 1 1/4 of an inch down. From there, you're going to make a little hash marks, like, so you're going to have your line that's going this way, and then you're going to have your line that's coming down. From that little hash mark, you're going to punch a hole, and then you're going to put your individual purse feet. They could be screw-in, prongs, riveted, however you like them. Then you're going to cover them up with electrical tape, duct tape, what have you. I have, these are like pretty smooth screws, so I can cover them up, but I'm choosing not to. I'm choosing chaos this morning. Okay, so from there, we're going to then grab our zipper panels. So we have our exteriors, and then we have our interiors. So we're going to first take our interior pieces, and we're going to base this together. We're going to baste it together using 1/8 of an inch. And again, I'm going to follow the one line, because if I follow the needle bar, I will slowly be entranced like something from Lion in the Witch in the Wardrobe. You know, like when Sir Thomas was playing that flute and like Lucy was getting all like in the fire and she was getting dazed. Yeah, that's what the needle bar does to me. I'm bringing back emotions. So all right, then we're going to put together our exterior with it. Now you could, I have no interface on here. You definitely could put some woven fuse or something to help give it a little stability. But this bag is not very big, so you're okay if you do or do not want to do it. If you're using like I'm using a Mora, so I kind of wish I did do it, but shoulda, coulda, woulda. So I'm going to put this together, and if there's a little overage, I can just snip it. We're going to do this zipper panel down. We're going to sew this at 3/8 of an inch. trim those threads. All right. And then we're going to top stitch this at 1/8 of an inch. And like I said, because this is bound, just make every stitch count and back stitch. And I'm just holding the lining nice and taut so that way it doesn't like roll over into the zipper panel, the zipper, because I have done that so many times where I did not hold the lining together or I forgot to clip it, and then somehow the lining just comes into the zipper panel and you're just like, oh God. And I'm just going to singe this. Some zipper tapes like want to be a little more finicky than others. I don't know why. But I do notice whenever I get like a burgundy, it is not having it. I'm going to repeat this. We're going to do 1/8 of an inch. Okay, and then we're going to not top stitch, we're going to sew this together at 3/8 of an inch. I told you I chose chaos, that's why you see no clips, but you can definitely clip it. It's weird. I'm an over clipper when it comes down to piecing a bag together. You'll see. But when it comes to like piecing it, like the gusset panel, I'm like, I don't need to do it. I think we all have areas that we feel like we have to do more on than others. I think that's just part of it. All right. Okay. We're going to put these zipper pulls on them. And again, I have to hit it with some fire real quick. best friends. Okay. All right, so we're gonna now put the gusset together. So we're gonna lay our gusset right side, gusset lining right sides up, and then we're gonna clip our zipper panel. And our gusset lining panel is a little bit bigger. Not too much, but it is a little bit bigger, and it's designed that way to give it its shape. You'll see when you get to, if you see on figure 83, there's like close to like almost like a scant 1/4 of an inch on each side. So don't panic. It's supposed to be that way. You're not alone. I'm just going to make sure I have my centers right, because we all know all right. See, zipper panel is just a tad more narrow, and that's okay. And then we're going to position the right side of our gusset, and then we're just gonna, I like to clip from the sides because then I'm not worried about moving clips later. And then we're going to sew at 3/8 of an inch, back stitch well at the beginning and in the end. And like when I get to the zipper, I like to do a couple stitches just so we can have a zipper stop. All right. Then we are going to trim the exterior gusset only layer to 1/8 of an inch. And then we're going to top stitch. I'm hoping these first feet work out. If it's a total flop, don't tell anybody, okay? We're going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch, back stitch at the beginning and the end. You know, just like when you have a dream and you're like, hey, I'm going to make this bag, right? And it's just going to work out. I wanted it to be funny. So we're going to do this again. We're going to sandwich. I'm just going to sandwich everything together and sew at 3/8 of an inch. Back stitch. When you get to that zipper, if you ever had issues where like your zipper is popping off when you're doing like a bound bag, sometimes you really got to make that zipper stop. And then we're going to just trim the exterior panel of the gusset. And we're going to top stitch. So then we're going to baste this whole unit so it could be one. I'm gonna have to be clever because these first feet are unique. And of course I had to experiment by doing a tutorial because why not? Because it's the perfectly normal thing to do. Cut these tails. Okay, we're going to do this on the other side. Maybe if I would have did this from the lining side, I wouldn't have had any issues. Again, this warning was like, guess what? Chaos! I generally like to sew from the lining side because if you're using water resistant canvas or something that has like no stretch whatsoever, it works better. It's a little bit more taut. Just my personal opinion. Alright, so let me trim up any excess lining that's poking out. Because you want things to be nice and flush and even. And even though you're like, hey, it looks better because it's like a little bit more bulky, you don't want like your seams to look uneven. All right, so we're going to find our centers. Our centers like we do. And our centers that we found earlier match up. We're going to have to just do the one on the top. I'm going to have to separate Wolverine and Deadpool real quick. I know that hurts their hearts. Alright. And we're going to start putting this back together. Alright, so we're going to follow everything the instructions says, except I don't staple, guys. So if you've been a viewer of my channel for a while, you know I don't staple. I had a weird accident with the stapler when I was a kid with my grandmother, my abuelita. I was playing around. You know what that old saying, mess around and find out? Yeah, I found out. And yeah, staplers kind of freak me out. So we don't do that. We don't do the stapler. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of move this out of the way by kind of smushing this, and that is a technical term in bag making. So what I like to do when everybody else staples, I like to use heavy duty clips so there is no movement whatsoever. So I'm going to find where my center marks are. And I use heavier clips that, yes, they're not going to be fun taking each one off, but I don't like removing staples either. Call me a lazy sewist, whatever, but I'm like, why am I reaching across? when you have that little bit of curve, you're kind of going to angle it in. It's going to look awkward, but it'll all turn out fine, I promise you. Just take your time and put some more. Okay, so I'm just going to move this pattern. I like to move as much of stuff off the table because what happens is I start knocking everything off the table. All right, so we're going to sew around this using a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, okay? Take your time. I like to use a stiletto. I feel like I have better control over it, and I can gather all that I need. Take your time, go around those corners. Make sure it's raw edges and nothing's like overlapping. I usually do the front first because that's the area that's going to be seen. So So we're going to trim off these excess threads. And then we're going to start with our bias binding. We're going to start at the bottom. We're going to open up our bias binding. And we're going to fold in like a 1/2 inch, 3/8 inch, whatever you feel is good. And we're going to start at the bottom where the center mark is. And we're going to sew the bias binding at 1/4 of an inch. So in the pattern, she staples it here and then she staples it all the way around. I am going to, because I'm using tried and true bias binding, I'm going to just stretch it around as I sew 1/4 of an inch. You can definitely clip it. There's so many methods. There's no right or wrong, but this is the way I'm going to show you. This is the way I generally sew any bag with bias binding. I'm going to sew this at 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to start and I'm going to back stitch. And see, when it's true bias, it has this beautiful stretch to it. So when you just stretch a little each time. And when you get to the curves, it will really just wrap around quite lovely. Now, there's testers that have actually used elastic, like the 1 inch fold over elastic, and I've been dabbling with that, and it's pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. I still haven't mastered to get it done in all one swoop yet, but I'm continuing to try, because you know, first you don't succeed, you try again. And I'm just going around. I'm holding the bag nice and taut. I'm holding the bias tape nice and taut, and just going around. And I'm making sure raw edges are flush with raw edges. Now this bag isn't very tall, but it is wide, so just be prepared when the bag kind of might hit you. It hit me, so. But it's light and it's airy, depending on the material that you use. I love when a boulder bag is sewn with bias binding. It gives it such great structure, such great bones. I'm just moving the bag around as I'm going through these curves. And as I'm doing this, I'm going to pull this nice and taut onto the fold. So you see how I'm going to bring this right in. It's going to overlap, so there'll be no exposed raw edges. I'm going to sew about a 1/2 inch over and back stitch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this flat, and then I'm just going to snip that off, and I'm going to bring this over. I'm just clipping as I fold it over. see how you can have a nice cute tag. I'm just going to bring this together, fold it onto itself, and then kind of fold it together as one unit. And the bias tape is really taut because I was holding like a bias death grip on it, a bias tape grip, death grip. Okay. Alright, and then we're just going to fold this in on itself. Alright, and now we're going to sew this on all the way around at 3/8 of an inch. And I'm going to kind of feed it into the machine at a slant. I'm going to sew forward and lock my stitches in. I'm going to back stitch over that where the joint is, just to make sure. Just take your time. Make sure your handles are out of the way. All right, so you're going to do the other side, and then we're going to birth this bag. All right, we did the other side, and we're looking pretty good. So we bound everything. Don't freak out, I know it's hot cotton, but those little bit of threads are going to make me a little upset. So we're going to unzip, but you got to appreciate all the work that you guys did. We have our 2 slip pockets, we have our double zipper pocket. You have a chance to put a cute label on here. That's some birth. And because it doesn't have super heavy lining, heavy interfacing, it's not going to be a pain to birth, which that's always a delight. Unless you want to have complicated bag feet because your name is Shinova. Go for it. Okay, I'm making it look more complicated than what it really is. It's the bag feet, I promise. I think it's going to be all worth it, though. I know, someone's going to ask me, where did you get them? I'm going to have to go back through my receipts because I have zero clue right now. I just seen them and I was like, ooh, let me try these. And I have no clue where I got them. So what I'm doing is I'm rolling that bound seam onto itself. So that way it can sit nice. Doing the same thing over here. This is super cute. I did get the hardware from Alchemats and Thumbs and Thimbles. One had the magnet that I have as like a badge, and the other had the zipper pulls. So I was like, let's make them best friends forever. I think it's cute that they actually fit. Alright, so look what you accomplished. This bag doesn't take a very long time to put together, but you have a really nice bag with, you can choose whether you're going to have shoulder straps or like a little handbag. You have a really adorable shape to the bag. It kind of reminds me of like the back those RV, no, what is it, Volkswagen buses. I remember people talking about them and a lot of people revamping them in California, and it kind of has that little bit of a shape to me, and it's just lovely. And then it has like a very nice wide opening, so you can place all your essentials inside. You have 2 slip pockets, you have 2 zipper pockets, and you have so much room for all your goodies. So I think this is like the perfect bag for this upcoming season, and I think you're going to be making a lot of them. So if you have any questions about this pattern or anything that I cover, please leave a comment down below. If you haven't already got the pattern, in the description box and in the pinned post is where you can get the pattern, purchase it, and it is an affiliate link. An affiliate link means that I get a small portion, like a kickback. If you already bought it and you're like, Shinova, man, you were so entertaining, and your comedic timing was amazing, and your chef's kiss on this tutorial, and I want to do something for you, I do have a Ko-fi, and if you want to learn more about like modifications and things like that, I do have Patreon information. So until the next time I'll be seeing you, I hope you have a fabulous day and stay magical.